know we've taken time to start off, but I told someone a while ago that, tolerance, waiting is a measure of tolerance and is also a measure of your emotional intelligence. So tonight we want to go through our discussion on performance management. Let me just a moment. Okay, let me share my screen. There we are. So performance management, the driver to an organizational next level. And I know you guys are tired having come from the office. You've been working. I too have been working. But then we'll have the small energy to take us through this meeting. And we will be learning a few things. Our learning objectives will be: one, definition of performance management and performance management systems; two, characteristics of an ideal performance management system; three, aims and role of a performance management; four, performance management process; five, performance management in the HR; and then lastly, we shall look at a strategic planning in performance management. But maybe before I start off, I don't know whether you guys had introduced yourselves. We can take a moment and each one of us to introduce them to say their names so that we get to know all of us that are in this particular session. Maybe we can begin in no particular order. Over to you.
As we begin, let me start myself, and as we set the wheel rolling, you just say your name and what it is that you do. My name is Ann Jagi, Assistant DHRM at the County Assembly of Muranga.
Thank you.
My name is CHR Grace Bishopi, Human Resource Manager at Film Limited. Thank you. You're all welcome.
Thank you. We can move to the next one. So you can mute, then you can be saying your names like you've been guided.
Yeah, good evening, members. My name is Bansi. I'm a HR in charge of our health department in Muranga County Government.
Thank you.
Next.
Good evening, members. I'm Edward Kanyi, HR at Amica Savings and Credit Limited. Thank you.
Next. Who is next?
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the one and only Mwaura Wanjiko, Deputy Director, HR and Head of Corporate Communications at National Police Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who is next?
Next. Or we can stop the introductions.
Timothy, and the rest, where are you? Sarone.
Okay. Next.
I think in the interest of time,
yes,
we just carry on with our training. Wakuje watupate, masaa imeenda.
Asante. So the rest are in agreement, public participation.
Mugo, we have seen you. Jane Mugo, karibu sana. Abrayu should have spoken to us.
So you say we continue, Anne?
I think so. I think we just proceed. Let them find us as they come, because we are already how many minutes in? We are half an hour in.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen. We I know you have my profile there, you know who I am, but briefly, Erastus Ndeleva is my name. Currently, by the mercies of God, Director, Southeastern Kenya University. So you move on straight to our discussion. I talked about the learning objectives. Then now we start off by asking a simple question, or rather simple questions. What do employees expect in your own organization or in my own organization? And there are a few things that the employees expect. Number one, employees, me and you, we expect to be treated fairly and consistently. Rather, we expect a job or career enrichment opportunities where we can grow. We expect clear expectations on what our goals are. We expect positive and constructive feedback on a regular basis. We also expect involvement in goal setting, and thank God to the Constitution of Kenya 2010 that talks about public participation. And lastly, we also expect economic reward. So then now the question that again comes up is why perform? Why do we need to perform? Number one, of course, we have so many other reasons as to why we need to perform, but then we look at a few of them. Number one is to reach organizational mission and goals. You know, those mission of yours that you've set up as an organization, those goals that you've set up as an organization, whatever it is, either you want to increase and improve efficiency, that is why you want to perform to reach that particular goal. Two, we perform so that we can encourage and reward behaviors aligned with organizational mission and goals. And know this is an area where most organizations have failed in, so much so that we find an employee whose bad behaviors, rather with bad behaviors, is the one who is encouraged. Maybe at some point is the one who is rewarded, but then those with good behaviors, you know, they're normally not, thought of by the management. And we also perform for the purpose of curbing or redirecting productive activities. That's the reason why we need to perform, of course, among many other reasons. Now, let's look at the meaning of performance. I know all of us are talking about performance. The world over is talking about performance at an individual level, at an employee level, at an organizational level. We are talking about you must perform. You must perform. What is performance? And basically, performance is the act or process of carrying out or accomplishing an action, task, or function, whatever goes in to ensure that an action has been accomplished, whatever that action is, that task is, or maybe that function is. It could be a simple, something like, bottling of, distilling of bottled water. The end result is the bottled water, but then what goes into is what we're calling the processes. And maybe other times in our financial institutions about now, they're looking at the bottom line. What goes on, their expenditures, this to be done. By the end of it all now is what is referred to as performance. And so when we look at performance management, we're talking about all the processes that are used to manage corporate performance, the methodology that some of these particular processes involve, and even the metrics that are used to measure performance against some set performance, strategic, and operational, goals. That is now what is going to be referred to as performance management, whatever it is. Different organizations have got different, performance goals. A manufacturing firm has got goals different from maybe an education institution, maybe from the government in terms of maybe the county assemblies, the county governments, and the national assembly. The goals are going to be different. But then whatever goes in to achieve that particular goal that has been set at the corporate level is now then what is known as performance management. Now, what are performance standards? Benchmarks, right? These are benchmarks against which performance is measured. Standards, they are benchmarks, they are goals against now what we use to measure performance. They say we want to improve our performance by 20%. That becomes a benchmark. We want to increase student intake of a particular program by a particular percentage. That is a benchmark. And so it is that benchmark against which now we are going to measure performance. We can call it a level beyond which, or rather below which, what is being known as in political circles, the irreducible minimum. We cannot go beyond that. And so when we are defining performance management, one, we look at it as a continuous process. Two, we look at it as a process that aligns with the strategic goals, meaning that performance management is not an end, or rather, there can be no end. Every time you achieve a certain level of performance, they will also be going back to the planning mode. We go back now to the planning mode. So it becomes now a cyclical kind of a process. But then again, we are saying it is continuous. And that process now must be aligned with the strategic goals. Whatever they are, you know what your goals are for that institution of yours. So then that is what now you're going to measure. And so performance management, again, we're looking at it as including activities that ensure goals are consistently being met in an efficient and effective manner. Where we want to achieve it now, we know effectively and efficiently. And so when we're looking at performance management, we are focusing on the performance of an organization, a department. I think I spoke about this one before, an employee, or even the process to build a product or service for any other area in an organization. So that is what we're looking at now, that performance, either the entire organization at a corporate level, either a department, either an employee, or even those particular processes that are being put in place now to ensure that we deliver on that goal. Now, again, when you look at performance, remember you're talking about performance, then we're talking about performance management, and then we shall be looking at performance management systems. Performance management is an interactive process of goal setting, communication. So in other words, now when you look at performance management, it involves 4 principal aspects. 1, you plan, decide what it is that you want to do, when you want to do it, where you want to do it, how you want to do it, and who does it. That's planning. Is it the 5 W's or something like that? What, when, where, who, all that put together now, it amounts now to planning. And then when you plan, you don't stay there. You go to act now, because it's good to dream. But si kukaa unashikilia dream yako kama venye vijana wanatuambia. You now go to act, now putting into practice what it is that you planned, you thought about. Whatever you decided, what is to be done, you now go and do it. You act. And then from there now, you monitor. And then after monitoring, you review. Remember, I said that performance management is a continuous process. So when we review, it takes us back now to the planning mode again. We now decide again what it is that we want to do, because the goals of performance goals of yesterday, or rather yesteryear, cannot be performance plans for the following year. They will keep on shifting. They will keep on changing as and when. Either we achieve them or we don't achieve them. Because now the issue of monitoring comes in. We look at where did we go right, and then where do we need to rectify. So that's now the system now. So what is the purpose of a performance management system? Why do we need to have a performance management system? Number 1, serving the strategic purpose of that organization. Remember, you're using the word strategic here, because performance management is a strategic approach. It has to be looked at now from a strategic point of view. And so we cannot achieve the corporate goals if we don't have a strategic purpose for that organization. Why are you in existence? What is it that you want to do? And then performance management, again, provides information for reward system. Remember, I know many people do not, kind of child performance management. When they think about performance appraisal, Because by the end of it all, some of the people have looked at it now from their punitive approach. They want to punish us. They want to lay us off. All that. But then now, the flip side now, from the strategic point of view now, is about the reward system, where you're looking at those who have met the targets, those who have exceeded, and then you develop now a reward system now to kind of motivate them. Remember, a reward system shouldn't only be looked at it now from a monetary point of view. There are so many ways in which the performance management system can be used now to reward employees. We shall, maybe time allowing, we shall look at some of them. Then another role is that purpose is that it facilitates HR decisions. When you have that data coming from a performance management system, then you're able to make decisions on training, decisions on retraining, decisions on performance improvement plans, decisions on who to promote, decisions on career growth. All those ones, they are going to be guided by a performance management system. And then again, our purpose is that it enables employees to learn about their performance against organizational expectations. You tell somebody you are supposed to have achieved 20%. You achieved only 15%. And then from there now, you're able to judge yourself now against now the set expectations of that organization. And then it also serves as a developmental process. I think I talked about it now, training, retraining, career growth, all that comes up as from a performance management system. And then it serves as an organization's maintenance process, repair, where you are repairing those to be put on TIP, performance improvement plan, those to be given a warning letter or caution, whatever it is now arising from underperformance, or even those to be rewarded, if you're trying to repair something. And then lastly, performance management system supports HR decisions to meet legal requirements. Managers who are here tonight, remember, it may be extremely hard to discipline an employee based on performance in a case where there is no performance management system, right? Because you must have done this, you must have set the goals, agree the goals with the employee, and then now you come to evaluate them, and then now from there, now there are the processes of what is supposed to be done, remedial, what is supposed to be done. So then it becomes hard for an organization to discipline an employee based on performance in a case where there is no performance management system. Maybe that's another discussion for another day. Then now, is performance management and performance appraisal the same? No, these are not the same. One is a subset of the other. Performance appraisal is a subset of performance management. Performance appraisal is an event. Performance management is a process. I think those are clear distinctions between the two now. Performance appraisal is an event. Performance management is a process. There's a lot that goes in performance management, because even performance appraisal is also one among performance management. And so by the end of it, we want to see now, when you're doing performance appraisal, we as an event now, you want to see, you want to describe an employee's strengths and weaknesses. You want to see, it's a component, like I said before. So you don't need to dwell so much on there. I've given simpler distinctions. Now, how does performance management contribute to an organization? Number one, motivation to perform is increased. A performance-oriented organization increases motivation. I know it could be yes or no, but I know when you become performance-oriented, you feel motivated, you feel encouraged. It increases self-esteem, because if you know you are a performer, you have no problem whether they are going to appraise you how or whichever way. And then again, managers gain insight about subordinates. You know how your subordinates are performing. You know the deficiencies of your subordinates. You know where the weaknesses are. You know what they need to do, and you know what an employer needs to do. And then, of course, it simplifies jobs. Organizational goals become clear. Employees become more competent. Differentiation between good and bad performance and performance are communicated, and then change becomes possible. That is now the importance of performance management. When we look at it now from a strategic point of view, and when we look at it now from a broader point of view, not now from a myopic or punitive, where you simply want to punish. You know, there are some organizations or even some managers who want to use a performance management as a way maybe to get rid of unwanted employees, you know, where you do not want so and so, but because there is no other better way of dealing with the employee, now you do a performance appraisal. That would be too bad. That would not be the best approach. Now, how does an ideal PM look like? One, it has a strategic congruence, you know, that involvement between the top and the bottom is always characteristics of an ideal performance management. Practicality, it must be very practical. Specificity, validity, acceptability, meaning that across industries, across organizations, across institutions, that system can be made use of. Openness, of course, standardization, of course, must be standard in terms of application, and then identification of effective and ineffective performance. An ideal performance management system must be thorough, must be meaningful, it must be reliable, it must be inclusive, it must be correctability, meaning that it can be corrected when there are errors, they must be corrected. And then, of course, ethicality, or rather ethical. Performance management must be ethical. And then what are the aims? There are 3 aims of performance management system. 1, salary administration. 2, performance feedback. And 3, identification of employee strengths and weaknesses. That is what a performance management does. You use it for salary administration, use it for performance feedback. Of course, we cannot finish a performance management system without talking about feedback. And then the fact that you're able to identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the employees. And then again, we still have the aims and purposes. When you want to establish a performance management system, there are almost like 6 or so aims or purpose you want to accomplish. 1, strategic purpose. I think I've emphasized this one time and again. 2, administrative purpose, just the nitty-gritties of what goes on within a performance management, or rather within an organization. Informational, of course, you get some information. Developmental, I spoke about it. Organizational maintenance, I spoke about it. And then documentation. You want to document that feedback, maybe for future reference or for future use. Now, disadvantages of a poorly implemented performance management system. I know at times people are, like I said before, people have complained about performance management systems. And there are basically a few of the reasons why employees become wary and scary of performance management systems. Number 1, I talked about where you want to get rid of unwanted employees, increase the turnover. People start going away because I know the next appraisal is coming, and I know my supervisor is not likely to appraise me well. You know, use of misleading information, where we're looking at subjective appraisals, subjective, that are not quantitative, that are not backed up by evidence, they're not evidence-based. It is a question of perception, the way I see you, the way I look at you. Then again, it also leads to wasted time and energy, lowered self-esteem, of course. When I become the non-performer every now and then, every appraisal, I'm appraised poorly. Then, of course, an employee's self-esteem is affected. damaged relationships. There are people who are not appraising us, others well, my supervisor, my peers, my juniors, my seniors, all that. And then, of course, decreased motivation to perform. And then we also have employee job burnout and dissatisfaction. Those are the disadvantages of a poorly implemented performance management system. And remember, a performance system management system might be superb, good one, international standards. But then one mistake like now, involvement of staff may cause it to be unwanted within an institution. Of course, we have increased risk of litigation. Cases are coming up every now and then, unjustified demands on managers, employees, resources, varying and unfair standards and ratings, emerging biases, and unclear rating system. That one, I've spoken about it now, and those become the disadvantages. Are we together, ladies and gentlemen? Are we together or am I alone?
Very, very, very much together, Mwalimu. Very
much together. Please allow me not
together.
to leave you behind.
Together.
Thank you. So now we look at the management process, the performance management process, and we're going to look at 5 aspects. Semblance of what we spoke about: the planning, the acting, the monitoring, the review. Actually, these are the same. One, we have performance planning, performance execution, performance assessment, performance review, performance renewal, and recontracting. If you are writing somewhere, these are basically equivalent to what we looked a while ago: planning, acting, monitoring, and review. But we can look at them, maybe they will have more meat. The prerequisites now, the planning stage, what are they now? One, it is basically a situational analysis of the organization and the job. You cannot do performance management without getting to know that organization. What is their mission? What are their strategic goals? Do they have a strategic plan? How is the job like? So now when you do a job analysis, this is normally done through a job analysis. If all of you are HR people, and so a job analysis where there's a job study, the method study, all that, the job description, you try to understand that job, and so now you can be able to come up with the performance goals. The next one is performance planning now. We now go to planning, where we're looking at what? Planning discussion includes 1, results, 2, behaviors, 3, developmental issues, right? You're taking employees now, you want employees to have a thorough knowledge of the performance system. And so you want them to know what are the expected results. What are the expected behaviors leading to the expected results? And then what are the developmental issues that will lead to expected behaviors leading to expected results? Maybe aspects of training, you want to train them, you want to retrain them, you want to capacity build them, whatever it is, you can have workshops, you can have conferences, you can have seminars, all that. And then the third one is performance execution. You now go to execute, where we're looking at commitment to goal achievement, ongoing performance, feedback, and coaching. We look at communication, collecting and sharing performance data, and then preparing for performance reviews. You are now putting into action whatever plans, performance-oriented plans you had before. So now you execute them. And then the fourth one is performance. The fourth one is performance assessment, evaluation or appraisal. You now get to know, we have now executed. How is the performance? So that now want to know the employees and managers take ownership of the assessment process in using information obtained in a productive manner for the future requirements. And so, like I said before, we want to include now self-appraisal, where you do you appraise yourself, although I don't know how true this one can be, because majorly Kenyans have been, taught either from a legal perspective to keep on denying. And so all the time, people would want to appraise themselves very well. You score yourself highly if there are those kind of appraisals where they are not evidence-based. They are more subjective. They are more of perception. And so the last one is performance review between the employees and the manager. Now you come for a review. You see how the process has been done, so that now you see whether they are leading out to development of plans. You say reasons why I didn't achieve this is because either one, we didn't have resources, I lack this deficiency of this particular training, and blah, blah, blah. And so lastly, we have renewal and recontracting now. Again, go back to the planning stage. When you get to the renewal and recontracting, we are now simply talking about another level of planning. It is simply planning, but another level of planning, where we are looking at insights, information gained from other phases to reset performance goals for employees. And so lastly, I want to look at some of the best practices, the performance management best practices that have been put all over the world. And we have a scholar there known as Bronner. And Bronner has advised, mark the word as advised on some of the best practices for performance management strategies across hundreds of institutions. These are best practices that he advised and that I'm also advising you. Number one, focus on outcomes, not outputs. There may be no clear difference between that, but there's a difference between outcomes and not outputs. Those of you working for the government, you realize that the national wage bill that took place somewhere around April, now the government is placing a lot of emphasis on outcomes, not outputs. With outputs, we are talking about number of items that are being produced. You can produce, you can say I've done this number of production. But then, or rather, even an institution or an education institution like ours, even primary, they say we have churned out 1,000, 10,000. But now the question is outcome, the effect. What is the effect? What is the effect of your output? What is the effect of your output? So now you don't focus more on output, but you focus on outcome. And then we have a chain of 3 words. We start with the output, what you have produced. We go to outcome, the effect of the output, and then we go now to the impact, the broader view now, the broader long term. The outcome can be short term, but now the impact is broader long term effect of the results. So that should be the chain now, and that should be the thinking. We're not just talking about people performing within an organization, which is output, but we should now be concerned with the outcome. What is the effect of that production? And then now we go to the outcome now, or the impact, the long term. So he advises that we focus on outcomes, not outputs. 2, he says, use data visualization to communicate performance. For example, you can make use of charts, you can make use of graphs, you can make use of other visuals to communicate data. And I think that this is an area where HR should be able to improve so much. Because many times, I would say it here, that other professions, like even finance are finding themselves on the table of decision making simply because they are able to use data. HR, we are a little bit far because we are talking of so many people are coming late nowadays. What sort of decision can you make when somebody tells you so many people are coming late? right? It will not be the same as 10 people are coming late. That there's a difference there, because here is a question of number. It's a question of data. So make use of visuals. Number 3, use metrics with a time series from various data sources to identify trends and patterns. Matrices with the time series from various data sources to identify trends and patterns. You look at scenarios, scenario building. This way, this is the likelihood. But if you don't use you don't use trends, you don't use data for the purpose of identifying trends and patterns, then you make the wrong decision. You cannot make decision on a one-time event. It must be several. Number 4, communicate performance to both internal and external stakeholders. I think we now know where the Gen Zs have now put us now. And they're basically emphasizing communication. Communicate performance. Let your internal stakeholders know where you are as far as performance is concerned. Then whatever your institution deals with involves external stakeholders, communicate to them. It's a best practice of performance management. Lastly, leadership commitment and staff buy-in. Very key. If your leadership, maybe there could be the county public service boards, the county assembly service boards, the councils, whatever, the IPOA, I had them already from the police, the IPOA. If those the institutions as leaders are not committed to your performance management, it will not even go anywhere. If the staff do not buy in, it will not be able to go anywhere. So there must be leadership commitment and staff buy-in. No wonder, like I said before, our Constitution Article 10 emphasizes on public participation. The buy-in, let everybody know. And even in HR profession right now, we're emphasizing more on the why as opposed to the what. Because if you keep on telling people what they must do, then it does not resonate with the why. Why should they do what you want them to do? So those are the best practices in performance management. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are still feeling sleepy, tired, the end is near. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Any question from anyone?
Thank you. Mwalimu, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Mwalimu, you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Here, go ahead. You can
Yes,
hear me.
Yes, now I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
First and foremost, on behalf of Muranga branch, I want to sincerely take this opportunity to first and foremost thank you for the very powerful and insightful presentation that you have given us. We sincerely appreciate. And when I look at the chat line, Mwalimu, if you can go there with me, there are a few questions that has popped up. One from Serafino Juang is asking, what are the current performance management tools? So Mwalimu, there is a question on performance management tools. It has also been asked by Jibo Baiba, what are the current performance management tools? So maybe you can take a minute or two to explain the tools. Actually, also the same question has been asked by Victoria. Will you also kindly talk about the various tools one can use for performance appraisals? So there is a question on performance tools. Then there is one from Victoria again. Would performance management serve as an aim for succession planning and career development? If so, what is the linkage? Mwalimu, you can take those first. Colleagues, I am encouraging you, whoever has a question, you can post on the chat line, or if you want to make a presentation, a contribution, kindly raise your hand, then I'll give you a chance. Thank you, Mwalimu, back to you.
Thank you so much. This is Maura.
Yes. This is Mwaura Wanjiko.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Maura, for the. I don't know. I can't see my chat line, but you brought up these 3 questions. One is on the tools. Actually, I tactfully avoided the mentioning the tools because I thought that today we only were trying to lay the foundation for performance management. However, I will just mention, but then if your branch sees it fit for us to meet again to discuss about them, then I'll have no problem, but to avail myself. Now, one of the tools, allow me to talk about the most current tool, the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard is one of the tools that is being used for performance management the world over. Now, and that's actually performance management. Balanced scorecard is one of my favorite subjects. Why? Because when you look at a performance balance scorecard talks about looks at business from 4 aspects, which are all round and which are all inclusive. Number 1 is the financial perspective. All businesses and all government institutions have to deal with a financial perspective or a financial component. For example, I know in the private sector, we'll be talking about profitability, achieve a certain level of profitability within maybe 1 year. But then in government, we talk about improving efficiency in terms of, budget absorption. We are saying, we want you to absorb your budget up to maybe 100% or even 80%. So we will measure you alongside that particular metrics. Now, the other perspective of looking at a business is the customer focus. How is your orientation towards customers? And I know that cuts across, be it in private sector, be it in public sector. There are the customer charters, the customer service charters that have now been embedded in institutions. And then we also look at a business now from a business process. Those processes now that you normally go through before particular activity is done. Then the business looks at that. And those that have ISO system within themselves now, they would want to look at the processes. How are your processes like? Are they anywhere geared towards improving performance of an institution or not? And then lastly, we have the third perspective known as the learning perspective, or rather learning and development. That is where people are in, where you measure on matters to do with learning, how you embrace learning, how you maybe you go to a particular level of learning or something like that. So it's all about the customer satisfaction that comes in, and the surveys, employee engagement, under that particular perspective. And so a well-done balanced scorecard, in fact, one which can be automated, you may not need to discuss with anyone when it comes to performance. It will only be results. On matters budget absorption, I achieved the 60%, not 80%. Why did you achieve 60%? And when we're expecting you 80%? On matters maybe customer satisfaction, you achieved through the surveys, you achieved maybe 80%. We expected 100%. Why didn't you achieve that? The process again and everything else, so that now that is measured. Now, the other tool is the 360. The 360 degrees, where we're looking at performance evaluation or assessment from your seniors, your juniors, and your peers, and even other stakeholders. And then we also have a management of objectives, is also another performance management tool, where you've decided that these are objectives as the management. This is what we want to achieve. And then you're measured against those particular objectives. So basically, those are 3 I've mentioned. Maybe there could be more, but those there in terms of ranking, that is my favorite. Now, then somebody asked about can performance management serve as a tool for succession planning? Did I hear that? And so what is the linkage between performance management, performance appraisal, and succession planning? Now, you recall in our discussion, we talked about, I kept on talking about developmental issues. I talked about things like to do with organizational maintenance, but more importantly, developmental issues, and then strategic purpose. You will realize that succession planning is a strategic approach in which an organization prepares potential manpower. And so when I spoke about the developmental, I said that from a performance appraisal or rather performance management, we get insights that are going to lead to either, I talked about training, and by training, you are preparing people for the next level of leadership. And that's where now succession planning comes in. I can't remember what the other question was. Maybe you can remind me.
Yes, it was just there on the linkage. Now, what could be the linkage between performance management and succession planning and career growth or career development? But I'm happy you have tackled when you're answering that question. Mwalimu, as we continue, permit me to recognize the presence of Mr. Anthony Mwishigi, our Chief Magistrate at Murang'a Law Court. Karibu sana Bwana Anthony. As Mwalimu answers the next question, you can also prepare to say hi to us. Mwalimu, the next question has been asked by one and only Edward Kanyi. How do you assess the effectiveness of the performance management tools? Now, assessing the effectiveness of performance management tools. You can take that one. Then Bwana Anthony Mwishigi, please prepare to say hi. Thank you, Mwalimu.
Okay, thank you, Maura. I'm liking the way the questions are coming. How to assess the effectiveness of the performance management. That's a good one. Because you remember, we say that performance management is not a process that is in isolation of the strategic goals of the organization. And so one of the ways to assess is whether it meets the strategic goals of that organization, right? Because like I said, if you have a good performance management system, you can be sure it will help you to achieve your strategic goals. So then if you find that it is not helping you to achieve that, then that is not a good performance management system that you need to continue working with. You now need to reassess the tool itself, and then now come up with a better tool that helps you achieve your strategic objectives. Remember, we also have talked about, there's something here we talked about disadvantages. Look at the turnover. If that turnover is as a result of your performance management system, you need to reassess it again. If it does not give you, it gives you misleading information, you need to reassess it again. Because like say, for example, we should have a performance management that gives you 20% fewer people achieving the target, 20% on the tail end who never met the target, and then in between another composition of 60% people. It should be like it should be a curve. And so with that curve now, then you are supposed not to have on one side, on one side, 20% of staff meeting the objectives. On the other side, the extreme side, we should have 20% of the staff not meeting the objectives. And then in between, we should have now average number of staff, equivalent to around 60 or thereabout percent that are on average. So if the results are not this way, if this curve is not the way it is supposed to be, then you should need now to look at that particular performance management system of yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mwalimu, you know, the last time I was in Dubai for holiday with Anthony, hakuniambia alipandishwa madaraka. Sasa ako Milimani High Court. Tony Mweshigi, would you say hi to us? Our Chief Magistrate at Milimani High Court. Tony, are you there?
I am here, but I'm in a very noisy place. I'm just following slowly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I put in a chat. I thought you had seen the chat.
I'll check. Let me check it.
But I'm following. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mwalimu, I also want to bring to your attention that my good friend from all the way from Sierra Leone, Moses Kamara, who is the Assistant Director, Human Resource, Ministry of Fisheries and Marine, Pale Sierra Leone. Mwalimu, remember the last time we were to go to Sierra Leone with you, but you got another appointment to go to Ethiopia. So let's welcome Moses Kamara all the way from Sierra Leone to say hi to us and make a contribution. Moses, kindly unmute and say hi and make a contribution.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I'm quietly following the training, quite interesting. I also want to share with you our own system of performance management here in Sierra Leone. For us, we did not countenance the 360 and other sets of management tools insofar as performance management is concerned. But what we are doing currently is that we introduce the individual performance appraisal system. This is a situation wherein myself and my supervisor sit together, we agree on what I think I will achieve at the end of the day. So after 6-7 months, I go to my supervisor again and say, so far, this is what I have achieved. These are the evidences. We agreed. He makes comments. If I agree with the comments he made, that's fine. If I didn't agree with the comments, then I also make some comment that I did not agree based on what I've achieved. For us, it's quite an interesting system. It really helps, just like what our eloquent presenter is saying, that it's good for succession plan and of course also to achieve organizational goals. So let me don't say much. This is just a nice making points, and I want to thank all of you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother Moses Kamara. As we talked, I will make sure I come to Sierra Leone before the end of this year. Ladies and gentlemen, it is getting sweeter, better, juicer with our teacher today, Erastus Ndeleva. Please keep your comments, questions coming through. Mwalimu, my 3 points is: number one, I happened to have been part of the wage bill conference that you had referred to earlier. And one of the things that was coming out strong is the push for productivity measurement. That we've been measuring performance for a very long time, but it is now the time that we measure productivity and not performance. It is a big conversation going on. Number two, as we reflect on what you have taught us today, I have 2 points. Number one is one of the major mistakes we make through performance management is we take too long on the planning bit. We miss to go into action, monitoring, and review. Oh, we are planning, we are aligning with the strategic plan, we are aligning with the annual plan, we are consulting. So sometimes you find that there is that bladder of us taking too much time to plan at the expense of the other phases. Number three, another major disaster is lack of equivalent supporting tool employee to support them perform. You tell somebody, I need you to go out to bring sales worth 10 million. This person, for example, requires transport facilitation, but you tell this person, wewe jipange, you are on your own. So the element of the supporting equivalent tools or facilitation to employees to enable them perform, I think that for me is critical. So I would request you to make your comments, Bwana Erastus, as I check the chat line. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Bwana Mwaura. Thank you for leading us very well in this particular process. And it is true, you've rightfully said that we take too long in planning. And that's why, I don't know whether it is Bill Gates or who said that if you want something done very fast, give it to a less intelligent person. And you do it very well. Because it has no need to go through the situation analysis, scenario building, planning, all that. He goes straight to what he or she wants. And so that is essentially a mistake that we're doing as a country. Yes, we're talking about international wage bill. The talk is about, measuring outcomes. But then the other problem is that we still got a lot of politics within ourselves. So much so that even when you want to take that particular route of performance, management, performance planning, the staff gang against the whole issue, and it is nullified, and so it doesn't take place. So we've still got a challenge as a country, and we need to have a culture change in the way we do our things. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mwalimu. It is also my distinguished honor to recognize. Karibu sana, tusalimie na ulete mchango wako. Chairman Mount Kenya Nanyuki branch, are you there?
Oh, thank you very much. You can hear me? Yes?
Yes, thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Mwalimu, for the presentation. I was listening in here keenly. I'm an expert in this field. Right now, we are using key performance indicators and HR analytics to do performance management as the current tools. We are trying to automate it. And I'm a consultant in this. Anyone who would have any challenges in automation of their tools, I'm happy to help. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Bwana Gitonga. Barikiwa sana, even for joining Muranga branch conversation. Thank you. And guys, you have heard, he's a consultant. So in case you need more support, here we say we are a powerhouse, and you are able to get all support you require. Mwalimu, as you jot this one down, what are the role of employees in target setting during performance management? Someone would like to understand more on what is now the role of the employee for in the process of setting performance targets. But you are thinking about that. Allow me also to recognize the presence of the one and only Kate and Kate, our mudos, our mukubwa. Kate, kindly unmute and greet all of us. Kate and Kate, representing IHRM Director.
Good evening, members.
Good evening.
Thank you, Bwana Mwaura. Thank you for the good job that you're doing as a moderator. I have actually been listening to Bwana Erastus. Thank you for walking us through the performance management. I'm sure majority of us, we are better than the way we joined. So it is my pleasure, and I thank you for the organizers, and thank you very much. I am together with you. Thank you, Asante.
Thank you very much, Kate. We also appreciate your presence here. I know you are also a big-time consultant on matters HR. Mwalimu, back to you on the role of employees in setting targets. Even as ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, anybody with a comment or a concern, post on the chat box. I'll be able to give you a chance. Mwalimu, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Mwaura and team again. The question is the role of employees in target setting. And I would want to take us back to the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Article 10 on national values and principles of governance. And it places a lot of emphasis on public participation. And so that enshrined role in the Constitution cannot be wished away when it comes now to target setting. I have a single activity an employee is involved in. Public participation, involvement, consultation is key. So the employees play a role because you know, they are trying to say that this is a journey we want to walk. So then, how then do I walk that journey? I'm saying, measure me on the basis of A, B, C, D. So it's about consultation, it's about involvement, because again, when you do involve them in target setting, then the issue of buying that we spoke about, the issue of ownership that we spoke about comes in. Thank you. Thank you, Maura. Maura, back to you.
Thank you, Mwalimu, for that. Wow. There is another one coming here. But Mwalimu, as you are jotting this one down, what is timelines given to execution, review of performance management, or is it an open card to top management? What is the timelines given to execution, review of performance management, or is it an open card? But Mwalimu, as you are thinking through that, kila nyumba iko na mwenyewe. Murang'a branch, mimi nakuanga kada ya mikono secretary. Tuko na our chairperson, the one and only Lillian. Permit me, Mwalimu, to bring on board our chairperson of the branch, so that tomorrow I don't get a show cause letter that I did not perform as expected. Madam Lillian, are you there? Please say hi to us, even as is thinking on that response. Madam Chairperson, please say hi to us. Sisi ni Mwalimu, you can be responding to that as I check the connectivity for our chairperson. You can be taking us through that question kindly.
Thank you so much. Timelines for review. Allow me to say that performance management is normally an annual event. It's normally an annual event in most organizations, because you remember we spoke about salary administration, we spoke about reward systems, and so they are pegged on a 1 year's timeline. That is now planning, acting, monitoring, review. Should take at least 1 year. And so what most organizations do, actually what they're doing nowadays, and I think the consultant here can confirm with me, is that organizations don't want to be in for a rude shock. And so as much as it's a 1 year thing, they bundle it into, the quarters. Quarter 1, you do a review. Quarter 2, you do a review. Quarter 3, you do a review. And then quarter 4, you do a review. Why? Because you don't want to wait until the last quarter and then you are in a shock that performance is dismal. You should have seen this one way before. It's like when you're driving a car, maybe from Kitui, Kitui going to Nairobi, I should be able to check the speedometer. I know I should be able to get to Nairobi in 2.5 hours time or 3 hours. But then if I find that I'm going at a lower speed, I need now to fasten so that I'm not at a shock. So actually, very prudent organizations are now doing continuous performance management. So that now you remedy the situation before things are too bad. Thank you.
Asante Mwalimu, na unajua from my mother tongue, they say what gets measured gets done. And
sure.
The more you are able to measure frequently, you are also able to take corrective measures. Mwalimu, mkurugenzi ya person ananiambia she's held up in a noisy place, she's not able to speak, but we have a deputy, the one and only CHRP Grace. CHRP Grace, kindly unmute, say hi to us, and make your contribution at this moment. CHRP Grace, are you there?
Yes, yes, I am, sir. Hi to
Our
everybody.
Vice Chairperson, Madam.
Yes, I am. Hi to everybody. I'm driving actually.
I don't want you to be caused by an accident because you are professional. You cause an accident. You can only be caused. So continue driving. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Checking on the
thank
chat
you.
right. I can't see anyone with any other comment. I think as we are coming to an end, is that matters performance management. It must be everybody's affair. You cannot say that it is top management, middle management. In other organizations, and one Edward Kanyi will tell you, some people, when you talk performance management, they run to the HR department. HR is not the supervisor of everybody. So we must take this conversation to each and every employee because performance management is for everybody. Sometimes people look at it is for top management, others look at it for the supervisors, others want to do something different. I'm seeing Moses Kamara saying want to add on the timeline. Yes, please, Moses. Unajua mtu, somebody all the way from Sierra Leone. Please add something. Moses, the floor is yours. Moses, please add.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just like what our presenter is saying, that it's a yearly activity, especially when it comes to performance management. For us, we also look at it in two ways. We have the yearly and we have the half-yearly. Why we look at it half-yearly is that just like what our presenter is saying, we don't want to be in a shock situation. So during that time, we want to know how far you've gone in implementing the activities you set. So the challenges will be identified. I will also find ways of solving some of those challenges. But if we say we just leave it till the end of the year, at the end of the year, you get shocked and a lot of things will go under the rug. So that is why around June, July, we have a media review. That is where we solve the problem. So to add to that, yes, it's a 1-year activity and it is important that you monitor as time progresses to ensure that you achieve the required goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And from Sierra Leone, there is this statement that says, every good dancer knows when it is time to exit the stage. It is now my singular honor to welcome Edward Kanyi to give our collective vote of thanks to the Mwalimu. Then after that, I will request Mwalimu to make his closing remarks. And after that, we shall close this meeting. Edward Kanyi, on behalf of Muranga Branch, I know you are one of the leaders of Muranga Branch, and I'm also saying this to remind our members who are the leaders of the branch. Edward Kanyi, kindly offer our collective gratitude to Mwalimu at this juncture.
Thank you so much, Mr. Maura, and thank you, members, for logging in for this very insightful sharing. It's a powerhouse, as it has been said, and I really appreciate how our teacher has taken us through. So it's my honor to give all the thanks to everyone, and also to request that we may be having this as many times as possible because it's quite insightful and quite growing us in terms of career-wise and also in our profession. So thank you so much, and I really appreciate all of us and more so to our teacher and appreciate his eloquence. So thank you so much all, and may God bless us all. Thank you. Back to you, Maura.
Java usikose kuninunulia kahawa. Sura ndio hiyo. Mwalimu, now it is my honor to request you to kindly give us your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Maura. Thank you so much, IHRM Muranga Branch, for having given me an opportunity to sharpen my tools. And I bless you so much. But I want to say that knowledge is not knowledge when it is not being put into use. The Bible says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you've learned tonight, what you didn't know, now you've known. In your own small ways, in your own small spaces where you can, kindly try to bring some change out of the knowledge that you've learned. In Mwaura, allow me to appreciate my wife, Patricia, is here online. She's here to listen to what I'm saying. And my brother too, Frigastas, I see them online. Thank you so much for being here for me. Thank you so much, the branch, for hosting me. I'm so much honored. Thank you.
Asante. Wow, that's nice. Hearing that your family is also listening, that is good. Thank you and congratulations. Now just one announcement is that after this, we will meet behind the tent for the cup of tea that will be online. Now let us unmute and we close with the words of the grace. Let us unmute, we close with the words of the grace, then tukutane nyuma ya hema, we have our online cup of tea. And Mwalimu, you will share the slides with us? Mwalimu, you will share the slides?
Yes, I will share.
Please share the slides with us.
I will. Thank you too.
And now, let us close words of grace. And now may the grace
our Lord Jesus
and now may
Christ
the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ
and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit with us now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen. God bless you guys. Asanteni sana, Mwalimu, asante. Thank you so much.
Mwaura, asante team. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have maintained attendance of 50. We were 50 of us. That was very, very encouraging. Mwalimu, you had the highest was at 56 participants. Na naona bado tuko 40. That is good. Asanteni sana. Have a good night. Have a good night. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Have a good night. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kwaherini, kwaherini, kwaherini. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Mary Kibadi. Thank you, Doris Ambani. Thank you, Mwanaidi Wesonga. Thank you, Mohamed Karimu. Thank you, Flavian Chemutai. Thank you, Victor Otieno. Thank you, Ben Rogers. Thank you, Phyllis Song. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And now, count of 5. I end the meeting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The meeting is over.